Software as a service at risk from artificial intelligence. Hey everyone, it's Wolfgang. This is coming up as a topic of conversation. The SaaS companies, the big SaaS companies, they sort of wonder how big the risk is that their business model is being disrupted by artificial intelligence. I'm going to explain what's going on with that in this video. So by 2025, half of companies have launched agent AI pilots. Agents are autonomous blocks of artificial intelligence functioning that don't need human interaction. They work on their own, like software robots, sort of. 50% of companies have launched pilot projects using AI agents. If you're not sure exactly what an AI agent is, you can look that up online. They'll give you a pretty good explanation. Basically, it's an autonomous block of functioning that doesn't necessarily need any interaction from humans, and it can be unleashed to take care of all sorts of tasks that would otherwise, with a SaaS product would be a little bit more involved, would be a different experience. So AI agents, they're reducing reliance on SaaS products. Software as a service products are accessed over the internet. They're cloud-based. So software as a service, cloud-based, that means the hardware and the software is remote. If you use Salesforce, for example, the software is running on a server, but not on your company's premises, on the Salesforce server rack somewhere. So cloud-based software started becoming popular in 2000. Salesforce introduced this pay-per-use model. There were earlier versions of this, but Salesforce kind of took the bull by the horns and made software as a service what it is today. They were the early players, along with SAP Cloud, and Oracle Cloud Enterprise. It became very appealing to software companies to be able to sell the same software over and over and over. I mean, in the past, when you bought software, you bought it once, and if you wanted to keep it forever and never upgrade, you had that option. Software companies decided, well, we're going to introduce new features, and we'll come out with version 2, and we will resell the same product with some new features and make money again on the same product. So when software as a service came into being, it's kind of the same idea, except the software is no longer purchased to run on a server inside your company. It's running over the internet in the cloud on servers that are owned by Salesforce or whichever company you're using. So it's basically a way to get you to overpay for software. That's just my opinion. When software, in the earlier days of software, being able to buy a software package and not being forced to upgrade, with operating systems, for example, the companies will say, we're going to give you free bug fixes and upgrades, but then we're going to stop supporting your version of the operating system, and you're going to have to spend money to buy the latest version. It wasn't always like that. It was a better, for consumers of software, it was better not to be forced to upgrade, because how many features do you really need? Do you really need the latest features and have to pay for them? If you have a company of 100 staff and having to buy all new software for everyone, every time the software company feels like soaking you for money for basically for the same product. Nevertheless, that's where we are today. Software as a service is a maximal version of that, where you pay monthly, you pay annually to use software. It's in the cloud, and if you stop paying, you lose access to the software. It wasn't like that in the past. Nevertheless, here we are. Okay, so the benefits of SaaS, you didn't have to buy a server, right? In the old days, if you were running enterprise software in your company, you needed IT staff, bodies. You needed people who were trained in managing servers and software installed on servers, and you needed the hardware, the computers, the servers. So with software as a service, you no longer need to buy the computers, the server computers, and you don't need IT staff. So that's a money-saving thing. It's also relieves a lot of hassles, because in my career, there were many, many times when the IT staff would make a mistake and it would affect the whole company. And sometimes the mistakes were dramatic, creating all sorts of problems for the company. And when there are critical things like closing deals, for example, and the IT staff drops the ball, not good. So that being said, software as a service vendors, sometimes they get it wrong too. They drop the ball and all sorts of problems arise. But there are benefits of not having to buy the computer, not having to hire IT staff is kind of cool because, you know, the fewer employees the company has to hire, the better. Payroll is usually the biggest expense for companies. But is software as a service cheaper? Maybe not, okay? It was originally sold as being cheaper because, hey, you don't have to hire IT staff. You don't have to buy a server, computer or computers and deploy them locally on site or rent out server space. But it's not really that much cheaper because, as an example, Oracle ERP Cloud, 20 users, 150 grand a year. And that's the minimum. If you want to use Oracle ERP Cloud, Enterprise Resource Planning Cloud software, Enterprise Resource Planning Cloud is a product that Oracle sells with a varying number of seats. There's 1 seat per user. They have a minimum of 20 seats. It's 150 grand per year. Okay, that's not cheap. That's for software, right? So in the old days, you would buy a server, a few $1,000s. You'd have 1 or 2 IT staff members who could manage the server, but they could do everything else in the company for the company's computers too. So they were multitasking. $500,000 a year for this product for 50 users, right? It's starting to get expensive here. So, and the company is at risk if they don't pay the bills of sort of disrupting their company. If they don't, you know, if you suddenly lose access to the software your company needs to operate, if you can't make the payments and they cut you off. In the old days, you have the software, you have the server. There was no one who could pull the plug on you. So you've lost some freedom here. They've got you over a barrel. We know you need our software to operate your business, pay up or else, right? So they have leverage over you. So it's expensive and they have leverage. So companies, have they gotten tired of that? Have companies gotten tired of this leverage and the costs? So let's compare SaaS software to AI agents, okay? So let's say we want to replace Oracle ERP. It's fairly expensive, 150 grand minimum, 500,000 for 50 employees, 50 users. We hire an AI agent developer or 2. We tell them what parts of Oracle ERP Cloud we use mostly, because very few companies use all the features of the software that they buy. In a lot of cases, companies will use some subset of the features of the software that they lease, and they don't need the rest of it. So you hire AI agent developers, duplicate the features that you use and nothing else. And the annual LLM fees, right, the subscription for the large language model, it's going to be a lot less than $500,000, a lot less. And it's getting cheaper by the day because LLM fees are becoming commoditized. 2 things. Number one, it's going to get easier and easier to deploy large language model systems. The way the technology works, things get faster, things get easier and simpler, and things get cheaper, almost without fail. Very few exceptions. So large language model fees will reduce. They'll keep dropping because they're all competing with each other, trying to get market share. So if you replace some portion or everything from Oracle ERP Cloud and implement it with AI agents, or some portion of it, you can save your company a lot of money. You can get to the point where, half of the 50 users no longer use ERP Cloud simultaneously. Maybe they switch off, and another portion of that functioning you've implemented with AI agents, and so you save the company money. So that is going to become dominant. Like I said at the beginning, 50% of companies have launched AI agent pilot programs to do exactly this. To say, we are tired of SaaS monthly fees and annual subscription fees. We're tired of these guys having leverage over us and being able to cripple our business if we don't pay the subscription fees. If you implement AI agents and you have a couple of developers on staff to make improvements, to make changes, you get out from under the shackles of these SaaS companies like Oracle. So also in 12 to 24 months, that's my prediction, 1 to 2 years, you'll probably end up having a proprietary on-site large language model system. What I mean is, instead of accessing a large language model system over the internet like we do now, ChatGPT, for example, your company will have a box, a computer or 2, that will implement the large language model for any data that is critical for your company that needs to stay private. Because the thing about using large language models today over the internet is when you submit or when you have company data mixed in with the way you're prompting the large language model, the way you're interacting with it, your data can and will be used for training, possibly. And it could leak out to other users inadvertently, and it won't have your name on it. It'll just come out as the answer to someone else's prompt. Private data, keeping private data private, will mean in 1 to 2 years having an on-site and on-premises large language model computer fully trained that keeps your private data, your company's private data, private and secure, and never uploaded, never used as for prompts to a public LLM, a public large language model like OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Google Gemini, or Grok from X.com. So what's going to happen in companies as we move forward? It's already happening. Like I said, 50% of companies have already launched pilot programs using AI agents. Companies are going to reduce paying subscriptions for software as a service providers. It's going to happen. The companies are just fed up with this because the problem is you have to sign a contract, and at some point during the year, you may end up no longer using a portion or all of the package, and yet you're still having to pay for it. And other things that, what if you have a huge headcount reduction and you end up with like 10 users and you had 50, but you have to lay off a huge number of staff and you're paying 500 grand a year for 10 people. Companies want to get to the point where they have more control over the budget for computer time, for enterprise software use time. And software as a service, they want to get money from you. And some of them will work with you more than others. The big ones tend to be pretty... they'll give you a break on some things, but it's in the company's best interest to cut the umbilical cord and stop the flow of money to these software as a service vendors and have the software on site if possible, or at a minimum, develop AI agents that use a public large language model for non-sensitive company data, and then you're paying the subscription fee for the large language model, and that's going to drop because the competition among the large language model providers is intense right now, and it's only going to get worse because it's going to become easier and cheaper to deploy large language models as time goes on. The people behind the scenes who are working on improving large language model systems, they're going to keep finding ways to make them more efficient, cheaper to deploy, faster. And so these subscription fees for large language models will keep falling. So I posed a question here. Are companies fed up with software as a service subscription fees? Yes. Yes, they are. A lot of companies have sort of had it because, they've got you over a barrel. Oh, you're using our software, pay up, or we can cripple your company if you don't pay up. Like I said, in the old days, you would buy enterprise software one time. You didn't need to upgrade if you didn't want, unless you wanted to. You would install it on your company's server. You would have 1 or 2 IT guys manage the server, keep everything running. And there was no software as a service company who could reach into your company and cripple you instantly because you forgot to pay your subscription fee on time, or your company got into a difficult period and you can't afford to pay the subscription fee. So this is too much leverage. This is too much control that a third-party vendor has over your company. It's very unfortunate that third-party vendors of stuff that your company use can shut your company down. It's very unfortunate. That's just my opinion. And companies bought into this model, the software as a service model. They just ate this up because they didn't have to buy servers. They didn't have to hire IT staff. And initially they were sold the bill of goods. It's going to be cheaper than buying your own server or your IT staff. What they should have told them is, if you don't pay your bill, we can cripple your company. We can cut off your access to our product. So that's kind of where things are with the disruption of SaaS. So I would expect that you will keep hearing more and more about agents, artificial intelligence in general, replacing these options, software as a service options, because like I said, most companies don't use all the features of a package. Oracle ERP Cloud, companies will use a portion of that they could easily replace by hiring an AI agent developer or two and implementing an AI solution to take over some of the load from the cloud software. So if you have any questions about this, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I've got a sort of a deep experience in tech. I was a software engineer initially in my career, and I've seen a lot of this. Things change over time with computers, but this The thing that's challenging about software as a service, it's not just the fees. It's giving up some control over your company's destiny when a vendor can control from day to day how well your company's doing. What if the vendor has a glitch and you lose access to the cloud for some reason? Maybe their staff screws something up, and then all of a sudden your business is on hold for however long it takes them to fix it. It's better to have everything in-house, and eventually companies are going to say, we can, there's going to be like 1 or 2 or 3 big data leaks that will it'll occur involving public large language models, and companies will put their foot down and say, no, we have to tell our employees they can no longer interact with the public large language models, Gemini, all of them, ChatGPT. We're going to have to get to the point where we have on-site proprietary large language models for the private critical data the company needs. That's the direction we're going. So if you're looking for an opportunity, that is an opportunity right there. It's very early in the cycle to get involved in on-site large language models. The nature of these things is they're cloud-based, but there will be a niche open for private large language models hosted on site, not connected to the internet. That is an opportunity right now because it's very, very early in the game there. So please ask any questions you have, post in the comments. I'll try to answer them. I really want to thank everyone for watching, and have a great day.